Welcome back. My name is Henrik Holmer. I am an analyst here at Erik Penser Bank. The next company to present is Intervacc, and today we have with us CEO Andreas Andersson and also Chief Scientific Officer Dr. Andrew Waller. Very excited to have you here, and the floor is yours.
Thank you for having us, and thank you for listening in. So, Intervacc. So we are developing modern vaccines for animals based on this technology, fusions of recombinant proteins. And our lead product, Intervacc, has been approved by EMA for sale in the European Union and VMD for sale in the UK. And we have this year launched in Sweden, Denmark, UK, Germany, France, Austria, the Benelux countries, and now also recently here in Ireland and Poland. So now with that, we have reached about half of the European horses. So really exciting times. So animal health has shown is a globally growing market and has shown great resilience and continuous growth. And within that, vaccines are growing faster than the average product. And we are targeting this global market. We have a pipeline on vaccine based on the same technology and targeting similar type of pathogens. And we are developing those vaccines together with leading Swedish universities, so Karolinska Institute in Stockholm and SLU in Uppsala. We're a Swedish company and we're listed on Nasdaq First North. So what do? We have a clear focus. Focus on what we do best, which is to develop those vaccines and bring them to market, and we reach this global market then with distribution partners. So we develop vaccines for animals. Technology is based on recombinant fusion proteins. We have focus on gram-positive bacteria, or specifically Staphylococcus and Streptococcus infections, where we have the most experience in our teams. And within that niche, we can be world leading. We become the market authorization holders for those products. So now first we have successfully done this for Intervacc. So we successfully managed the regulatory process, and that puts us in a position where we could sign distribution partner agreements. We outsource our manufacturing to contract manufacturers, and we reach this global market through distribution partner agreements with global leaders. So that is what we do. Now let's talk a little bit about the technology. And for this, I would like Dr. Andrew Waller to explain it.
Yeah, so the technology is really exciting. So these bacterial pathogens are really complex. They have a whole range of different mechanisms that are used to subvert the immune response of horses and other animals. And so this technology of using fusion proteins, where we can fuse different proteins from the pathogen that we're trying to prevent causing disease. We can fuse those proteins together. So one protein will actually cover many different antigen fragments and block many different pathways that the bacteria uses to cause disease. The great advantage is that we can produce these proteins successfully in E. coli, and so the diagram there is showing that process. How we stuck the genes together, we insert them into E. coli, and we can make these proteins. And that means that there's no live agent there. So these are really safe and stable vaccines that can be used widely to prevent disease in animals.
Excellent safety profile, suitable for large-scale production, great for bacterial diseases, and very stable and easy to handle. And our lead product, Intervacc.
Yeah, so no live agent in this vaccine. So traditionally, strangles vaccines have often relied on having a live agent in them. Our vaccine doesn't have a live agent, so it's able to be given via the intramuscular vaccination route, which veterinarians prefer. It's ready for vaccination. Andreas has got a little vial there. So it's a clear suspension. Just give it a quick mix, suck it up with a syringe, and intramuscular injection. And then in some studies, we've been able to show that the vaccine protects up to 94% of horses from disease. And that means that we can access this really large global market that I think Andreas will
and it's
in just a second.
A real game changer in the fight against strangles. And this disease, strangles.
Yeah, so it's a pretty horrific disease that horses get. So It's often referred to as an equine plague because of the way that it targets the lymph nodes in the horse's head. And so these lymph nodes can get infected within 1 to 2 hours. So the horse drinks contaminated water and the bacteria gets into those lymph nodes really quickly. And normally the immune response really struggles to kill the bacteria. And so that action of the immune response trying to kill the bacteria but failing, coupled with all of the nutrients that damage is doing, allows the bacteria to grow and grow and grow. Some of these abscesses will literally be the size of a football or a watermelon inside the horse's head. So really painful for the horse and actually can kill 1 to 2% of horses that get it. So you get rupture of the abscesses, and so some of the images there, you can see that occurring. And that releases vast amounts of highly infectious material that gets into the environment, into the water, and can infect other animals. So this is a highly contagious disease, and it can rip through premises very quickly if it's not controlled properly. And so consequently, the outbreaks are very costly to control, and they can have restrictions on premises for quite a long period of time. Often at least 3 months, and often longer than that, depending on the number of horses affected. Some outbreaks that we've been involved in have lasted over a year to resolve. So being able to prevent this disease is just amazing. It's a huge opportunity to improve the health of horses. In Sweden, we have around 75 outbreaks a year of strangles, and that compares with equine influenza virus that most horses are vaccinated against in Sweden, where we have just a couple of outbreaks a year in Sweden. And so our goal is to reduce the number of outbreaks of strangles in Sweden down from 1 to 2 a week to 1 to 2 a year with the wider use of this product.
Yes, so terrible disease, great need, and we meet a lot of positive feedback from horse owners and veterinarians now when we bring this vaccine to market. It is a large global market, so there are some 60 million horses in the world, and about 1/3 of those horses is in what we call our primary market. So that would include Europe, North America, US and Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and a few other countries. And those are the countries where horses are mostly medicated and are already taking vaccination against something else, often equine influenza. So within those primary markets, the vaccination rate is 30 to 70%, sometimes higher, like in Sweden, it's a little bit higher. So roughly, we can say that we want to reach about half of those horses. So that's 10 million horses. So that is our target. But we are aiming to reach the whole global market and launch in all countries and reach those other, the complete 60 million horses. Once a horse has started in the vaccination program, it is very likely to stay in the vaccination program for the rest of the horse's life. So everything we do to penetrate and those markets, it's something that we keep as an investment, and it becomes recurring revenue from an investor point of view. So it's a very rewarding market to work in. And in Sweden, there are no other vaccines available. There are another vaccine available in Europe. There's also a vaccine available in the US, but there are question marks around those vaccines. So we feel fully confident that we will own those markets, and that people using those other vaccines will, to a large degree, switch to our vaccine. So that is our expectation. And as we said before, we have now sales have started in Sweden, Denmark, UK, Germany, France, Netherlands, Belgium, Austria, Ireland, and now also Poland. And we have already approval by EMA for European countries and by VMD for the UK market. And we are in the initial phase. We have submitted earlier this year for the US approval. So that is where we are. We have now sales in the most European countries where the vaccination rates are highest, so those which was our primary target. The launch phase. So once from approval until we start selling in the country, we work closely with key opinion leaders, and you know many of those key opinion leaders done for many years.
Yes.
So how has that been going?
Yeah, so I've worked on strangles for almost 20 years and collaborated with groups all around the world. And so it's been really great to actually have worked with them as this process has been going on. And we've been working through the regulatory process, doing the studies on the vaccine. So they've been up to date the whole period of time. And now it's actually launched. It's just great to be communicating with them and working with them and getting new ideas for how the vaccine can work. So I've been going out with other members of our sales team all around Europe and even the US, meeting key opinion leaders over there and talking to them about how best this vaccine can be used to prevent disease in horses. And there's been a huge amount of excitement with it, and already people are saying that they are switching from other vaccines through to this.
So, so those key opinion leaders are really important in the next phase when we start to sell, and that's when we start to educate a broader range of veterinarians around the world. And then it's important that those key opinion leaders already know about the vaccine and that they can contribute in that dialogue that takes place, face to face or on Facebook's groups for veterinarians or in larger arenas. So, and that has been going very well, and that is where we are now. So for veterinarians, we do those educational campaigns to inform about the disease and the vaccine. And then for horse owners, you're not allowed to market prescription drugs, and vaccine is a prescription drug directed to horse owners. So then we have awareness campaign when we broadly talk about the disease and how severe this is and what preventative measures that you can take. So, and that is the phase we are in now. So Andrew here participates in many of those larger conferences to keep in leaders, also now to vets. And then we have many more local events for awareness campaigns that we carry out throughout the Nordics, through our own distribution team, but also across Europe together with DECRA. Here are some examples of Swedish key opinion leaders. So we have Gitta Gröndal here that on television said that her wish or hope is, her expectation is that we could drive down those outbreaks from 1 or 2 outbreaks per week in Sweden down to a few outbreaks per year. And there are several outbreaks now in the Stockholm area, and also where horses have died. And often those horse owners, they contact us also directly, and we give advice because we're not only experts on the vaccine, but also on this disease. But of course, it's really much better if they're already in the vaccination program.
Absolutely, yeah.
Another example here is a veterinarian here with that's responsible for really expensive race horses here in Sweden and breeding, where they have also been interviewed in Swedish papers that they have vaccinated all the horses and also their young horses. So that is great. And we see there's a Swedish example, but it's a similar story across Europe now when we have launched. What drives vaccination here? So vaccination is often performed by private veterinary clinics that go out and see the horses. And we see that it's often combined with other vaccination, such as equine influenza. So that's a decision that the veterinarian takes. But I think the main reason here is that Strangvac do not contain any live agent. Is that how you say it?
Yeah. So it's safe to give alongside.
So that's how it in practical now is often used. And what makes you to start vaccinating is often that you have an outbreak or that your veterinarian in the neighborhood, or that the veterinarian advise you that, okay, why now we're here to do this other activity, why don't we vaccinate with Strangvac as well? And we're just in the beginning of that sales phase. For the European market outside of the Nordics, we work together with DECRA Pharmaceuticals, which is a great partner. It's one of the top 10 largest animal health companies in the world, and within equine in Europe, it's number 4. So this is a really important product for them. and this collaboration is working great, and you have been invited many times to the activities with them. They highlight how important this is as a product for the launch now in Europe, and some recent joint activities that we've done with DECRA, for example, where you have participated, or those conferences. I don't know if you want to say a few words about them.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Irish Equine Veterinary Association Congress, that was a fantastic event to go to. So many Irish vets there, and we got to give a presentation about strangles and Strangvac and how to prevent the disease. And then just inundated with questions afterwards. We're finding out about how vets are dealing with the disease in Ireland and how underreported it is at the moment. Actually very widespread disease, and how they can then use the vaccine to really make a difference and improve the health of horses there. So yeah, huge interest there. Again, London Vet Show, meeting all sorts of different people, vets and even border control staff as well. And then Dutch Equine Congress as well, doing double acts with key opinion leader over there, Kees van Maanen, and talking about the use of the vaccine in horses in the Netherlands and in Belgium as well. Again, huge amount of interest, lots of questions.
And there are more activities like this in the pipeline. You're going to Germany, more in the UK. So
yeah, Amsterdam again for the Sport Horse Congress. Yeah, loads lined up. Yeah.
So that is on that level with key opinion leaders and congresses together with DECRA, and then DECRA, of course, has a large sales team that meets vets regularly, and so do we in the Nordics. So that's. Then you have those awareness campaigns, and we have our own awareness campaigns, but we also participate in larger awareness campaigns. So you have this Strangles Awareness Week that's been going on, and you've been participating in for years, and big in the UK and starting to spread.
Yeah, so Red Wings Horse Sanctuary in the UK set this campaign up about 4 years ago or so now, and it's spreading country by country. So we've got organisations in Australia and the US and Romania and all through Europe participating in this now to raise awareness of horse owners about the disease and what measures they can put in place to mitigate the risks to their horses. And so, yeah, I go out and I give talks to horse owners as well. We're not allowed, as you say, to talk about the vaccine, but we can talk about the disease. But I've had some horse owners come up to me afterwards and ask if they can shake my hand because we've been doing so much. And they're so grateful that we're preventing this disease in horses now. So it's been a fantastic experience to be involved in this over the years. And great now that we have this extra tool that we can use.
And in Sweden, this is called Stoppa Kvarkan, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce how it's.
It's Dress.
I
think that's how you pronounce it. Yeah.
And we're just those are often driven by like in Sweden, it's by university or institutions, but it's great that this is happening and we can participate and support. But it also highlights in how serious of a disease this is for the equine as society.
And anyone can get involved as well. So if anyone out there who sees this presentation wants to get involved, they can just get in touch with us or with Red Wings, and they can be part of Strangles Awareness Week as well.
Okay. So looking at the pipeline at large and the environment that we are operating in, so it's a very positive environment, and there's a lot of incentives and regulations that help drive the growth of vaccines, particularly within animal health. So, for example, here within One Health, there's a real focus on reducing the use of antibiotics, or the overuse of antibiotics, because the overuse of antibiotics can drive the development of resistant bacteria. So there is a goal in the EU to reduce the use of antibiotics within animal health by 50% from 2020 to 2030. And there are new regulations implemented where it's now forbidden to give antibiotics to healthy animals. And when that happens, the infection pressure within the farm industry increases. And one of the tools, few tools that you can use to combat this is to increase vaccination. So the demand and need for vaccines against bacterial infections is really increasing. And we see this from farmers and from larger players, that this is a real growth segment and a growth industry. And it's a great need. It's also doing good for on a larger scale for humans and for animals and for the environment. So we often get our research programs 30 to 50% funded. And right now we're running 2 funded projects. So we're going to look a little bit on the pipeline. So again, our focus is within Streptococcus and Staphylococcus, and we have Strangvac now, where we have reached the market, Streptococcus equi, and then we have a larger pipeline, and the 2 that we're most comfortable to discuss, like present, and we have come furthest with here is Streptococcus suis and Staph aureus. And maybe you could talk a little bit about them.
Yeah, absolutely. So Streptococcus suis, it's another really horrible disease. So piglets can get infected at birth, and then as their immune response from their mothers wanes away, about weaning time, so about 4 weeks of age, so between 4 weeks of age and 10 weeks of age, they develop a septicemia, a blood infection caused by this agent. And once it's in the blood, it's able to get into the joints and cause arthritis and lameness. And it's able to get into the brain and cause meningitis. And so it affects about 5% of the pig population. And it can be really devastating and kills a lot of animals each year. So a big consequence to the farming industry. And of course, it's treated with antibiotics. So it's a major reason why antibiotics are given to young animals. And so we've developed or we're in the process of developing a vaccine where we can vaccinate sows with 2 doses initially, and then a 3rd dose just before their farrowing. So when the piglets are born, they take on a much higher level of antibodies and immunity from the mother, and that's able to protect them over that early phase of life between the critical period of 4 to 10 weeks of age. And so we did a study that we reported on in April, which was really exciting. And then we were able to show that we were able to protect young piglets at 4 weeks of age and 7 weeks of age from an intravenous challenge with 100 million bacterial cells. So a really aggressive challenge, and just amazing to get those results. And I guess we should have expected that it would work because of our success with Strangvac, but it was really thrilling to see the difference between the controls and vaccinated animals.
Yes, so here again, we're focused on the same technology, similar pathogens, and we about 1 year ago, about this time, we press released that we had our patent application approved in the US. This is it's patent pending here in Europe, and we also said in the quarter report when we had those successes that those successes has enabled us to search for more patents and broaden the patent. So this is still early stage, but it is very promising results. And this is a study that's still running, and it's 50% funded by one of the EU programs.
Yeah, Eureka.
Eureka.
Yeah.
So, and Europe invests a lot knowing more about this disease. So there's just funded projects just to understand more and how the severity of it. But there's no vaccine available that is effective. It's one of the biggest problems within the swine industry. The problem is, or the challenge is, to protect the young piglets in this early stage, and we have shown that we can do that now by vaccinating the sow, and that this protection transfers to the piglets through the colostrum, or råmjölk, as we say in Sweden. So that's exciting results. So, and if we take then a look at the another project that we have, so Staph aureus.
Yeah, so this is another huge problem in cows. Mastitis is a cause of huge losses to the dairy industry. Again, it's the major reason why dairy cows are given antibiotics to prevent this disease. The overall cost of the disease is estimated to be 600 million euros a year in Europe to European farms. We wanted to create a vaccine against Staphylococcus aureus because a lot of our research in the institutes in Sweden that form the basis of our company have been working on this agent for a long period of time. It's a very complex disease, so again, perfectly suited to the fusion protein method that we have, the technology that we have. And here we showed that we could vaccinate cows, pregnant cows, again, it was safe and highly immunogenic, and we've just got funding from the EU's Vet Bionet scheme to do an efficacy study where we actually will test the vaccine in the first half of next year and see if it actually protects cows from mastitis caused by Staphylococcus aureus. So again, really exciting times.
Yes, it's very exciting. So those results that we had from our previous project here was press released early this year. We also that we got this funding for the next phase, and that is progressing according to plan. They have now been vaccinated, and we hope to have results on that beginning or first half of next year. Yeah. And Staph aureus is a serious is a pathogen that creates infections for many different types of animals.
Absolutely.
And it's the bacteria that has the most causes for mastitis within dairy cows. So our target here is to reduce the severity of mastitis in dairy cows, and we will have healthier dairy cows, and we will also, and the hope is that they will be able to produce more and better milk. So again, a very targeted goal and a larger product than Strangvac is. But the success with Strangvac and now the very promising results for Streptococcus suis and Staph aureus is also, I think, a testament to the value and the strength of our technology platform.
Yeah, and the skill of the scientists at the Karolinska Institute and SLU in Uppsala. Yeah, they're doing a fantastic job. Yeah.
So that is where we are right now with those projects. So if we're gonna summarize a little bit on where we are now. So Strangvac, our vaccine against the equine disease strangles, or kvarka in Swedish. It has been granted market authorization in the EU, UK, Norway, and Iceland. That's EMA and VMD. Sales has started in Sweden, Denmark, the UK, Germany, France, Austria, the Benelux region, now also Ireland and Poland. We have submitted started the regulatory process in the US for an approval in the US. And we have, with the same technology platform and targeting similar pathogens, we have a really exciting pipeline for vaccines against Streptococcus suis infections, where we target piglets, and Staph aureus infection where we target dairy cows. And for the suis vaccine, we do have a patent approved in the US. So I think with that, that is a summary of what we have right now. And I think we could leave some time for questions.
Thank you very much. Very interesting. I would like to ask you to talk a bit about what factors are there for when a horse is vaccinated. You talked a bit about it's likely that it's vaccinated in conjunction with the vaccination for flu?
Yep.
Are there some seasonal patterns or other things, maybe in conjunction with traveling or competition? Or?
Yeah.
You want to start? Or?
Yeah, so the vaccine's approved for use in young animals as well, from 5 months of age. It's safe from 5 months of age. And so there will be, we expect some seasonality, because as horses tend to be born normally around April, May time, but sometimes as early as January and as late as August. So we'll get a little bit of seasonality as those younger horses get to the right age to receive their first dose of vaccine. There'll also be trends with when horses start to go to competitions, because vets may want to give the horse a booster vaccination before it attends a competition to top up that immunity when they've already been vaccinated, and make sure there's less risk of that horse being able to bring back the infection to the original farm. So we do expect to see a bit of seasonality, but strangles is a disease that hits horses any time of year. So even in the winter months, when horses are brought together indoors, that actually makes it easier for the bacteria to spread from one horse to another, and then we get more outbreaks. And when a yard is affected, then obviously they're much more interested then in learning about the vaccine and how can they stop this happening again. So we'll also see it happening right the way throughout the year, the vaccinations as well.
Yeah, when we study patterns on other vaccines, so there is a little bit of seasonality, and for those reasons that you say, but they're still pretty evenly spread around the year, with some months that are very low because it might be a vacation, or so for us, I think we're going to see a gradual increase now, and then once the volumes are higher, and we've been doing this for a longer time, maybe you can see some seasonality.
And you talked about the booster dose. How many doses would you expect a normal?
So I would say that I think what we see is that many follow an equine influenza vaccine schedule. And for equine influenza, they 2 doses, and then it's recommended with the 3rd dose, and then for younger horses, twice per year, or if you compete internationally, twice per year. But still, many choose to do once per year, which is often mandatory if you're going to compete locally. So when we look at this from maybe an investor point of view, we have calculated on maybe on average 1.5 time dose per horse in year, or up to 2 doses per horse in year. So I think from a practical point of view, what will end up happening is that many will choose to vaccinate at the same vaccination schedule as something that they're already using.
Yeah. And now you've been out talking to lots of veterinarians and horse owners. What's the major feedback you get? It's positive.
Yeah.
What are the most common questions you get?
So how easy it is to use has been a lot of the feedback I've had from vets. So at the moment, it's still early days since it's launched. So we've got vets that are using it in difficult cases as well, to help them to manage the disease in endemic situations and resolve infections or persistent infections. We've got some vets interested in doing that. But largely the feedback has been how safe it is, how easy it is to give it intramuscular, how quick the preparation is, because you literally just put a needle on the end of the syringe, suck it up, and you're ready to go. So yeah, it's largely been convenience really so far. But we expect to see the protective side come through over time as it gets used more widely.
I think that's also questions that we meet. It varies a little bit between different countries. Especially if they have been using a competing vaccine before, that is less convenient to use, then the veterinarians are very happy about how the convenience and also the safety, that they're not worried about any negative feedback afterwards. But then it's a new vaccine we just launched, so we also get question about duration and vaccination schedules, and so it's a lot of questions in the beginning. So it's important for us that we go out and meet veterinarians, and also we get follow-up questions and you know, giving us a call. Okay, I'm now about to go out and vaccinate. What was this? You know, again. So it is a new type of vaccine. It's for a disease that has many haven't been vaccinated against before. So in those markets, it's about building this knowledge and building this market. And then in markets where there has been vaccination before, then it's more about showing the competitive advantage.
Yeah. So another advantage is it doesn't interfere with any of the current management strategies that have been used to control this disease. So the blood tests and DNA tests and culture tests for this disease, the vaccine doesn't interfere with any of those assays. So it's an extra tool that vets can use alongside what they're already doing. And that's gone down really well as well. Yeah.
And if we talk about the different markets, are there any specific markets that is more interesting for you or more important? And does strangles, is it more common in certain countries, and also the vaccination rate?
Yes. So I think first of all, the awareness of the disease varies across different regions. Where the awareness in Sweden is high, in the UK is high. In some countries it has been, and in maybe most countries, it has been associated with some stigma or shame. You know, so that you don't want to say that you've had strangles because it's so contagious, and horse owners will avoid you like you had the plague. And also because there hasn't been a real good tool to do something about this. So now here it's there for us. It's you know, awareness, and it's okay to talk about it, and you can do this, and vaccination is a tool. And then when we now have launched in those European countries where the vaccination rate is high. So those are handpicked by us and DECRA. So large markets like where Germany, France, UK, where you have like 1 million horses each.
1 million, yeah.
And also you have countries like where there is a lot of exports from, and they have, so Ireland is a smaller market, but they export a lot of horses, and they do have a lot of problems with strangles. So the markets that we now have launched in are picked because they are the most strategic important markets for us. Then if you go down to customer segmentation, then it's of course, if you can vaccinate at breeders or young horses so that they're already vaccinated when they arrive, and people are more likely to continue with them. So that's important. And they may have different reasons for vaccinating. From a breeder point of view, it's a very risky situation when young horses are collected together, because if they get sick, then that reduces the chance of them being sold. So, and it's a stressful situation when the young horses are transported to the new owners, so they can be sick when they arrive.
Yeah, I memean, in the transport, if they're mixing with other horses there, you get contamination in the lorries and things like that as well. So it's just raising awareness generally. And people often don't think it can happen to them. But back when I worked at the Animal Health Trust, a big supporter of our research was Princess Anne. And her horses got strangles, and some of them were really badly affected. And I think that just says that anyone's horse can be affected by this disease, even when they're managed to the absolute highest standards of care. So just being able, hopefully, to protect more horses early on before that risk event happens, it should have a big impact in the longer term for this disease.
Yeah. Okay. We're running out of time, but yeah. One final question about one of your projects. We take the Staphylococcus aureus for cows. It's the infection doesn't only isn't only a problem for cows, also for humans.
Yeah.
Would it be possible that a vaccine could also be used on humans?
Yeah. So so our focus is on veterinary vaccines. But of course, Staph aureus in NS, we know it as MRSA when they develop resistance against antibiotics, and that is a big problem within humans as well. So of course, if we're successful with a mammal on a cow for a vaccine against Staphylococcus aureus on a cow, then it's a large step forward towards developing towards another animal such as humans. Now, we don't have the financial muscles for that. It's not within our strategy, but of course that would be a big. I think that would be big news on a larger, across, and people would think about interest for that as well, because I think this is a future threat for humans that we need to
It
deal with.
already is, isn't it?
It already is.
Yeah, it already is. Yeah. I mean, the great thing about working on animal diseases is we can actually test the vaccine with the disease in small numbers of animals and really show that it works and protects. Human trials are a lot fiddlier to do, so we'd have to take on a lot more guidance on that if it moved forward.
But I think we shouldn't get too speculative
exactly.
here. We are on, we have this challenge right now.
Yeah.
We're launching our first own developed vaccine. We have a great pipeline, and it's in a growth area, and it's a fantastic field to be part of.
Sounds very good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us. It's a pleasure. Good questions.
Thank you for watching.